She's reclusive, a mystery. She communicates in type. A family trip was planned, with the Antarctic in sight.
One day she's gone, disappeared without a trace. It's up to her daughter, a reality to face.
An enigma to solve. B was dead set. Where did you go, Bernadette?
Cool.
Darn it, I didn't get that on audio.
Shit, fuck off.
Yeah, okay, there we go, yeah. Oh, Brittany.
Yes. What?
We're talking about a book today.
We are?
Yeah.
Is that what we do here?
Well, I double checked with HR. They said yes. So
Why does HR handle that?
well,
Shouldn't it be our mission statement? God, Danielle. Don't you understand business? I'm just being an asshole.
Flat answer,
I'm sorry.
no.
Flat answer. I'm just being a dick. I apologize.
Don't apologize. I mean, I know nothing about business, okay? I just know that
You hate it.
Yeah. Basically. And,
I agree. I hate it too.
Yeah, it's just not my thing, but you know.
There is an itch on my ear. Hold on.
Don't you hate?
Oh God.
Sometimes I'll get chills like from that. I'll be like, ah.
It feels like there's like something crawling in it,
Yeah.
and like it's probably just a little piece of hair.
Yeah.
All right.
Those little pieces of hair. Get out of here.
Ear hair.
Your hair.
Hair.
Oh my God, that makes me think of Nigel Thornberry.
I did not know he was voiced by what's his name?
Tim Curry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got like an instant boner. There's a interview with him with the podcast Horny for Horror, and it was his first podcast interview he's ever done. Tim Curry, and they started talking about Nigel Thornberry, and I'm like, wait. What? And then I started listening like to Tim Curry's voice. I'm like, holy shit, it is Nigel Thornberry. Tim Curry is such an amazing man. I love him.
I need to watch Rocky Horror Picture Show. I've never seen
that either.
We should watch it together.
Oh my God.
And then talk about it on here.
God.
Bonus episode. Oh my God.
We'll have to talk about
Yes, we're doing. Oh, and Adam.
What?
Adam. We have to email Adam.
Oh, Adam. Fuck. This is the second episode. All right, so what are we doing today, Danielle?
Well, we are discussing part 2 of Where'd You Go, Bernadette?
It's so weird seeing Bernadette's name everywhere, only because I have a very good friend named Bernadette.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we call her Daddy May, though.
Daddy May.
Hey, Daddy. Yeah.
Interesting.
Bernadette.
Ah, gotcha.
Daddy May.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah. I call her Daddy May. A lot of people don't. But when I first met her in 10th grade, she said, call me Daddy. And I was like, okay. And then call her Daddy. And then kind of like you, I call you Danielle. Yeah. Even though, like, that's... You've never gone by that, right, I'm sure. True, yeah. So I call her Daddy May.
You're right.
She's like, yeah.
Okay.
All right, Danielle. Let's go.
All right, Brittany Ellie. So
one of my nicknames is Brit the Tit.
Brit. I'm not going to call you that. BTT. All right. Yeah.
Thanks, Eric.
Oh God, who's this Eric?
Eric is my brother's best friend.
Oh, okay. Hi,
so
Eric.
He's like a brother to me.
Oh, okay.
But we were talking about how big my boobs were, and he called me Brit the Tit. Go ahead.
I just had a memory. Oh my God, I have to talk about this. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I just remembered a dream I had last night.
Oh.
And I'm glad I'm recounting it here because honestly, it could be like a short story idea. Yeah. I was going to document it in the middle of the night, but I was like, I don't want to look at my phone.
I'm so tired.
So, okay, this is terrifying. I had a dream that I was like, I don't even know how to describe it. I was like walking through like this path and there were a bunch of people but they were all silhouetted. It was like horrifying. Okay. But that's not what horrified me. What horrified me was we were in like this.
You and I?
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. There were a lot of people there and there was a guy named Eric. I have no idea who this Eric was. I don't know what he looked like. He was just a random dude. Apparently his name was Eric. And we were in this huge room. Okay. And apparently it was like in a ship, like this below a ship, and the ship was sinking and we could not get out. Oh, no. And basically I had to face the fact that I was going to drown.
Were you watching Titanic before you went to bed?
No, that's the thing. Like, I don't know why I dream what I dream.
That's scary.
I woke up and I was like, it took me a while to like chill out. Like, cause I was laying there and I was like, I just had a dream like where I had to come face to face with death. Like, cause I literally, the water came up. Like, I was ready to like hold my breath. Like, and that's when I woke up.
Oh, you see, you would have, like, if I know I was going to drown, instead of holding my breath, I would have exhaled. quicker. So it's like, all right, here, go. And then underwater, just kill yourself right away.
Oh,
Then,
yeah. That's I guess. Yeah. Oh God, Brittany, I don't even want to think about that.
Drowning is a terrifying way to die.
Yes, it's just honest to God, like that's one of my biggest fears. Like I doubt I'm ever gonna drown, but you never know.
Being trapped under ice, that's one of mine.
Oh my God.
I've never gone ice skating in my entire life, but being trapped under ice is terrifying to me.
That's actually in Beauty and the Beast: The Enchanted Christmas. We should watch that for Christmas.
I don't want to watch.
Brittany, it's hilariously bad.
I'm gonna make you watch fucking Krampus then.
Well, that's scary.
Exactly. If we're gonna watch Beauty and the Beast, you're gonna watch Krampus.
No, it's not the same. No, Beauty and the Beast, there's a scene where Belle gets trapped under the ice.
What?
Yes, and then they save her life. She does drown, but spoilers, she she drowns, like meaning she passes out, but they rescue her. But what's stupid is that like they don't give her a blanket, anything. Like she's there and she's like chilling out. I'm like, oh yeah, he puts her in a dungeon and it's freezing cold. It's a long story. Yeah, it's really dumb.
I mean, Beast is a dick.
He is.
What movie was I watching last night? Open House. It's a scary movie.
Yeah.
And at one point the murderer, like they're up in the mountains and like he knocks out this one person. I'm not gonna say who. And dumps a bucket of water on this person, and like to get hypothermia and die.
No.
And I was so cold throughout that entire movie. I was like, oh no! But he wasn't in the ocean. Yeah, like not in the ocean. Why did I say ocean? He wasn't in a lake. Okay. But like he got knocked out, and then the guy's like, whoosh, and then he's like, to get hypothermia.
Oh my God, that's
terrible. It is not a happy ending movie.
It doesn't sound like it. Oh my God, no. Look, I can't even watch. What movie did I try to watch? With the Wax? Man. House of Wax with Paris Hilton.
I hate that movie.
My friend made me watch that. She knew I was
when they
afraid.
snip the Achilles heels, and he's like, no!
That to this day, when I'm in bed, I have a hard time putting my leg out of the bed because I'm afraid, like, of getting
someone's
my heel
under there.
I'm still like when I walk to my bed, I'm like, nobody's under there, but get into bed really quickly. Okay, I'm in bed. Okay, like I'm afraid of the dark. Like I'm sorry,
I'm afraid of the dark as well.
Yeah, that's why like you're braver than me because in this basement, like I could not. Like by myself. Down here? Yeah, I couldn't. But then again, you have the TV on, don't you, usually?
I do. Yeah. And then I put the sleep timer on, so I fall asleep to it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, so what I do in your basement is I turn on the TV, mute it, put on an audio book or something like a podcast so I can listen to it because what goes on in TVs always gives me nightmares. And I learned that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because it's the flashing lights and the audio.
Oh, really?
And I used to have wicked dreams. So I put on a podcast that I'm familiar with or even sleep sounds on starts with a P.
Ping. Podcasted.
No.
Yeah, didn't think so.
I want to say
Pandora.
Pandora,
yeah.
It's not the Panini place.
Not Panera. I really want Panera. I'm going to Panera today. It's decided. All right.
I put on Pandora. And then I turn off all the lights, and that's how I fall asleep in the dark here.
Okay.
At home, I'm okay because I'm with Kevin.
Right.
And the music's playing, and the dog's in the bed, and like the shades are down, open because they. The shades are open so you can see the street lights come through. That's comforting. Everything like that. So it's fine.
Yeah.
But pitch black by myself.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah. It's a thing. It's a problem, folks. But
You know what's not a problem?
What?
Your ability to get a free 30-day trial at audibletrial.com/BaBaT, where you that I am pointing to, that Danielle always looks at but is not there, you our fellow listeners, can get a 30-day subscription to Audible and a free audio book. And I am highly recommending the book we are currently reading, Where'd You Go, Bernadette? So you could get really invested in the story. Yep. The audio, I wish I. One second.
You're just like, wow.
I might as well just read who's narrating it.
Oh, good idea. Yeah. Oh my god. Ooh, ah, ha, ha, ha. I don't know why I just did that, but I felt the urge, so I did it. I'm really proud.
I'm so proud of
I'd
you.
like to thank my parents for believing that I could do the evil laughter, even when nobody else did.
You're so weird. And I love it. Caitlin. Whoa.
Jenner? Just kidding.
Will Hoyt.
Will Hoyt. Will Hoyty.
Will Hoyt.
Will Hoyt.
I don't think I think the E at the end is silent.
Okay.
So I think it's Will Hoyt.
Will Hoyt.
Yeah, so
Doing a great job, Caitlin.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin. Will Hoyt. Hoyt. So it's a really good narration of everything. So I recommend that book from Audible.
Nice.
And yeah, our
Awesome.
link is in our description, our website, and all that other shit.
Yes, indeed. It's right in the show notes, folks. You got this. Mm-hmm. So let's get started on talking about part 2 of Where'd You Go, Bernadette, titled Bernadette Past. I'm sorry. Bernadette Past and Present. I got this.
Okay.
No,
yes.
you were distracting me, Brittany, when you were like going like
with my pop sticker.
Pop socket. What is happening?
Listen, I don't read. I don't speak well. I don't read well. And I make up names for things. So this is a pot sticker, even though that's a food.
I actually like it even more.
Pop sticker is what
Pop
I call
sticker,
it.
yeah, because it does stick to your phone, so it
And
is a
it
sticker.
pops out.
And it pops out.
So it's not
That
a
just
pop
makes me
socket.
thinking of a popping joint, and I don't like that. So,
I just cracked my back. Thank you.
all right.
So we open up with part 2, with architecture competition sponsored by the Green Builders of America, and it's describing a competition about the 2020 house, the 20-mile house, 20 years later and 20 years in the future.
Yes. So,
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
Am I like going crazy? This house is literally 20 miles long, or is it just called that?
It's just called that.
Okay.
So
I'm an idiot, but I literally like.
So it's called the 20-mile house because she uses. All right. So briefly.
Oh right.
Okay.
Duh. Oh my God. Sorry, folks.
So a summary of this part is we are learning about Bernadette's past and present, as indicated by the title.
Yes.
So we are learning about not her break and mental state, but what she did while she was in LA.
Yes.
And she is an architect and a fucking good one.
Yes.
However, because architecture is a male-dominated field. Thank you. I was thinking for a P, profession.
Profession.
That's what I was looking for. A profession. Bernadette is in this field, this profession, and she becomes her own myth because she did really cool and creative stuff and then disappeared.
Yeah.
So, what's indicated at the end of the chapter, I'm going to say it right now because this is a summary.
Right.
Someone she had worked with has said, "Is she really a myth and legend? We don't know. You know, was she this brilliant person, or was she just a selfish individual?"
Yeah.
And we think about that selfish individual because what we learn, everything she's ever built was for herself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, we're going to go way back to the beginning of this story, like this part.
Yeah.
With an advertisement for the 2020 house.
Yes. So,
advertisement, the competition.
So
being advertised for the 2020 house. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting that the whole myth behind Bernadette and this whole 20 house. Sorry, I said too many 20s. 20 by 20 by 20.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I got this.
320s.
Yes. So
60.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. 60.
The 60 house.
The 60 house.
69 house.
Oh God.
I don't know why I threw my book.
I was just wondering. That's so funny. Oh my God.
Let me get that back.
I wish that was on video.
I'm just like done. All right.
I looked and I was like, I guess she doesn't feel she needs it anymore. like, okay.
Go on with your point while I get this.
So what I was gonna say is, I find it really interesting how this book deals with myth and like how this myth of Bernadette has come about, partially because, like you said, like she only worked on things for herself and she never worked with plans. She never had plans. She always so basically the reason it's called 20 Mile House is because they only used I can't think of the word, material within a 20-mile radius, which is awesome.
Yes. So this whole chapter is interactions between architects, because somebody is writing a paper on Bernadette, essentially. And so he's diving into all this research and getting in contact with people who knew Bernadette the most. Right. So contractors, professors, co-workers, stuff like that. And so we are really getting to know Bernadette in this part.
Yes, indeed.
So, and realtors who she's worked with. Yeah. So, she was a yes man. Bernadette was a yes man. And she was in high demand for that because she was able to put aside her ego.
Right.
Which is really interesting later on.
Yeah.
So she was able to put aside her ego, but she attacked everything as if it was the most important thing she was ever doing. And the example that was given was by her boss and professor, because he was a professor and then he like took her on. I guess he was an adjunct, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he put her in charge of mapping out the bathrooms in whatever building it was.
Yeah.
And she was obsessed with finding when people ate, their meal times, how long they could be expected in meetings, blah, blah, blah. He's like, what are you doing? Just design the bathroom. And she had said, I want to know what problems I'm solving.
Right. Which is cool.
Yeah. Because she's right. You know, like if like you work at a manufacturing place, everyone gets off at noon.
Right.
You know, for lunch. You need to have a big enough bathroom to accommodate all those people that are coming in at lunchtime.
Right.
You know, and enough sinks and enough soap dispensers. And you need to have it centralized enough so that everyone could get to it easily. And do you have a separate bathroom for the executives and the whatchamacallit, the laborers, the union? Or do you put them all together? What is the company's like philosophy for that type of stuff?
Right.
So it's actually a very smart thing to be talking about and thinking about. And this guy just wanted it built. Yeah. And Bernadette's like, there's problems. I need to solve them.
Right.
So it's very interesting to get that aspect of it.
Yeah. And it's great because, you know, with a lot of buildings, like, and I'm even going to refer to the house that we're in right now. Like I constantly say to my mom that, like, looking at the house, it looks like, oh, wow, this is like really nice. But like when we moved in, we loved it. But then once you're living here, there's certain things that you wonder, like, why? Like, why was it done
isn't
that
there
way?
a bathroom down here?
Good question. Like, or even like my bedroom, like we were talking about, like moving things around, and it's so limited because the windows are very low, so you can't put anything against that wall. Then my closet takes up a whole wall because the door is there as well. Yeah. And I was talking, and then the vents there, so I couldn't put my bed near that because it would get rid of the heat and coolness coming out. And I said to my mom, I was like, who built this house? Like, it's so annoying. And it's not just that, it's other things. And so that's like very refreshing. Obviously, Bernadette's not a real person, but it's nice to think about that maybe architects would think in that way, you know? And so that just made me, again, Bernadette, you know, hot and cold person, but I like her as a character. Like, I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. So, and like, they don't, I want to stress the point, they don't say any of that in the book about how what I just said about solving the problems with CEOs and like the laborers. But that's the mindset that she's in. Right. You know, so it's important to read the in between the lines at this part of the book.
And I think the book, I mean, it expects us to. Yeah. So
you really have to. You have to dive deep into it. You have to put yourself in Bernadette's shoes.
Right.
So this 20 by 20 house, everything, they were out of money. Her and her husband were out of money. They just sunk a lot into this bifocal factory that they repurposed. So she bought this factory with all different junk in it, and said, I'm going to turn this into a home by only using the stuff that's inside the factory.
Yeah.
And she did.
Oh, and it sounds amazing.
It sounds so cool.
I cannot wait to see that, how they interpret that in the movie. Hope
Do you want to talk about that a little? Because I think it's really neat.
It is really. Do you remember like where that is around? I'm trying to find it and I can't.
No, I don't. But I do know she was hooked up with this contractor, and this was back in the day where you know somebody, you get the permits.
Yeah.
You know, so the contractor is like, don't worry about the like I'll teach you about permits. You just tell me what you want done.
Right.
You know, so she's like, just show up here with 5 guys. You know, she had no plan.
Right.
As you
no
had
plan.
said before. She has no plan. She has no blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
She just goes, I want to do this, and dives in.
And she's knitting a lot, too.
And she's knitting constantly.
Yeah.
And her one classmate, Ella.
I don't remember.
Ellie. Let me pause for a second.
Yeah.
Ellie. Ellie.
Okay.
Ellie, her classmate, it drove her crazy because actually I turned right to the page. It's on
Nice.
112. It drove me so crazy about Bernadette at Princeton to be one of the 2 female in the whole architecture department, and you spend your time knitting. It was bad as crying during a review. I felt it was important as a woman to go toe to toe with the men. At anytime I would talk to Bernadette about this, she had no interest.
Yeah.
So that's again developing her character. She doesn't care. She wants to knit.
Right.
So she has this backpack on. She's constantly knitting and like a string coming from the backpack to her knitting needles.
Yeah.
And she's so blasé about everything.
She is.
Because Ellie is talking about this treehouse tea house she wants to build.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they have all this establishment, and Bernadette's just like, where are they going to put their shoes? And she's like,
Right.
what do you mean?
And that's what made her stand out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a tea house. People take off their shoes to go into a tea house.
Right.
Where are they going to put their shoes?
Yeah. Oh,
You
I
know?
love that.
So it's like she's thinking on a level that is beyond surface.
Right.
And even the professional architects are thinking surface level.
Right.
When she's beyond that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So I found the passage I was looking for where it talks about the
Bifocal house?
Yes. So this is from a man named David Walker, because basically this section is just a bunch of people's like dialogue.
Yes, about Bernadette.
Yeah, so we'll say a name and then it says what they're saying. And or actually, I'm sorry, Paul Jellican is talking. He says, the feminists are going to kill me on this, but Bernadette Fox is a very feminine architect. This is on page 109, by the way. When you walk into Bieber Bifocal, you're overwhelmed by the care and the patience that was put into it. It's like walking into a big hug.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go to this place so badly.
Because there's curtains made of frames from glasses.
Yes.
There are chairs made of glued together magazines.
Yeah.
And then like they just started these blocks out of magazine, just gluing them together because they had them and they didn't know what to do with them. So they just glued them all together and made 4x4 blocks. And then it said, we got drunk one night, got a chainsaw out and made chairs. Right. You know, like the way she's describing, like the way the author describes things that are happening in this book is very much like, I feel very, drawn to, because that's what my company kind of does now.
That's true.
Not exactly what they're doing,
right,
but it's very artisan work.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I was very drawn to this, and the one I'm just gonna plug my company. It's called Vitra. It was a Swiss manufacturing furniture company, but they have what's called the stool. Right. So the stool is very much like these chairs. So it's an L-shaped stool with a handle on the back, and you can use it as a step stool. You can use it to sit in. There's also pictures of like people using it as a work stool. So they had like, it's funny. It's a tree. It's like an animated thing. It's a tree on 2 stools, and they're sawing down the tree because it's strong enough to hold the tree.
Nice.
And then there's pictures of people actually interacting, shifting it. You could stack it. It's a very like well-designed piece of furniture. And what they're describing in here, making tables out of machinery parts, curtains, like room dividers out of bifocal frames, tabletops out of the lenses. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's very innovative, and it's repurposing. So that's what she was doing, is she was creating a home for her family.
Yeah. And what you just said, innovative, they talk about a lot that Bernadette was green before green was a thing.
Yes.
And so even like she was just doing her,
She was just doing her.
And that's really awesome. And that just happened to be very innovative.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to comment on too is that this chapter's part is split up into two kind of sections. There's the part where like they have the bunch of different people saying their bits.
Yes.
But then there's this letter or email, doesn't say, from Mom to Paul Jellikin.
Yes.
Who's the professor. And that's basically the rest, apart from that last section from Paul.
Yeah.
But it also talks about in this section the relationship between her and Elgin.
Yes.
Which
is beautiful.
Yes. He gets her like this.
God.
What is it? Like
Saint Bernadette.
Yeah.
Like
it's
bracelet.
Like
a charm
bracelet. Okay, yeah. I forgot what it was. And it's just so lovely and
yeah.
I like that they're not, because again, I feel like a book like this could go down that path where like they're moving apart from each other because of Bernadette crazy, like, so he knows and he would be moving away and he didn't see this coming, but actually
that's not it at all.
Yeah, they're
and you learn that in this part.
Yeah, like they're compatible for one another. Like it's very nice to see that. It surprised me when it probably shouldn't have, but it did. Because I just thought he works so much. I thought, they just would be apart. Like I was wondering how they would end up together. And then when I read that, I was like, that is genuine and nice. I really like that.
So they met together at a conference. He was doing code at the time.
Yeah.
Coding.
Yeah.
And I forget.
Was it at the animation company?
Animation, yeah. He was an animator. Yeah. And they met, and I don't know how they met. Did it say?
I don't remember, to be honest. I think it kind of mentions it. Let me see.
Yeah. It just mentioned that they met, but they were instantly attracted to another and married within the year.
Yeah, yeah.
It was very, very quick. Because she was an up-and-coming architect, and he was an up-and-coming data processor, like a coder and stuff like that. So like when they bought the bifocal house, they like ran out of all money.
Yeah.
And that's why they had to use so much material within the factory.
Right.
And then this goes back to the IKEA idea.
Yeah.
A realtor came around and said, there's a property, like two plots for sale. Why don't you buy them and build something? No, a contractor said that.
Yeah.
And so she bought the one plot, couldn't afford the second.
Oh, that's right.
She couldn't afford the second one, the one adjacent that shared a driveway.
Right.
And when she was there, she's like, what am I going to build here? And that started the 20 by 20 by 20 house.
Right.
So she wants to build a house with resources within 20 miles and not going to Home Depot and buying like steel from China.
Yeah.
No, she was dumpster diving. She was getting stuff from the dump.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, she was calling these places like wood chippers that like take down trees so she can make the flooring and the ceiling. She was doing all of this. Right. And the contractor and everyone talks about how infectious she was so passionate about everything that you just did what she asked you to.
Right.
So the Bernadette in this book is very much like my friend Bernadette.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And not so much, but this Bernadette is a nutcase later on. But you want to help my friend Bernadette and her family. They are very kind, they're very outgoing, and when you meet them, they're like, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, would you like to come or help? You do it,
right,
because you could hold a conversation with them. And a lot of times they don't have plans, they just do,
right?
Like when she moved out to Colorado, she did, she barely told anyone. She just got up and went, right? With her fiance. So she's very much like, we'll figure it out when we get there kind of person.
Yeah.
And that's how this Bernadette is. So it's probably very much the namesake.
Yeah, it's so true.
So it's very interesting. So she's doing this 20 by 20 house. And that is a good part of this book.
Yeah.
This part.
I agree, for sure. Another thing I want to comment on real quick is there's this part where it talks about how Bernadette, she submitted something to an auction at the school.
Yes.
This made me so sad. So this was what it was. So I guess parents were like auctioning off things to the school, and she auctioned off her time. And what she auctioned off was to build a custom tree house. So it says, custom treehouse, 3rd grade parent Bernadette Fox will design a treehouse for your child, supply all materials, and build it herself. And the guy who's saying this is Paul Jellikin.
Yeah.
And he says, I contacted the head of school about this auction item. She emailed back, according to our records, this auction item received no bids and went unsold.
Correct.
That was probably so crushing to her. That made me so sad.
It's very crushing because, like, it's a combination of things.
Yeah.
Because she, by the time that auction goes on, she's a recluse. No one likes her. But also, she intentionally took herself off the internet.
Right.
Like, she made sure no one had pictures of her. She made sure when you Google her name, and this is explained in part 1.
Yeah.
You can't find anything about Bernadette Fox. You can't find anything about Bernadette Fox, whatever the other last name is, like her husband's name, because she didn't take her Branch.
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
She didn't take her husband's name.
Yeah, I like that.
You can't find anything on Bernadette Branch, Bernadette Fox Branch, Bernadette Fox.
Yeah,
nothing. She does not exist on the internet,
right.
And it's partly because she took herself out. This is 20 years after a big thing happened with the 20 by 20 by 20 house. And it's very interesting. So do you want to get into it, or do you want me to summarize?
Summarize, and then I guess we can.
So Bernadette built this house with very little money, and next door, a famous producer,
I think so,
had bought the property that shared the driveway with her, and he was very ostentatious. Is that what's that word?
Yeah, no, you're right. He is.
I didn't say it right though.
Ostentatious.
Ostentatious.
Yeah.
And they battled back and forth. You know, there was neighborly feuds because he had a cookie cutter house.
Yeah, and she hated it.
She hated it so much. And he planted trees along the driveway that she despised. So when, like, he had a big, to do, like, a big party, she had all the cars towed.
Yes.
Because they were illegally parked.
Yes.
So it was back and forth. And when she had finally finished the house, she won a huge award for it. One of the biggest awards that was never given to an architect before.
Yeah.
And it was the first female, like, at all. So she got this award, and they went to celebrate, and she's... Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say they waited to take a picture of it because they were going to wait till
they got back from their vacation.
And
so they sold it. They sold it before they went on vacation. And they're like, oh, we're going to go take pictures of it later. You know, and everything was fine. Until...
it's knocked down. So who is it that goes to visit? Is it Paul?
So it's Paul. It's a professor. He's taking his students to go look at this magnificent glass and wood house.
And that's when they see it, like, they just see the destruction there, and they're like, oh my God, what's happening? And I forget
he's irate. He calls Bernadette. He's like, what are you doing? Like,
oh yeah, because he thinks it's her, and she is like, what are you talking about? Like, I have no idea about this.
Yep. They're in Europe at the time.
Right. So I know, what's the name of the guy? Like, 'cause the guy who bought it.
So the guy who bought it was not Peter or something.
Yeah.
Part 2. Past and present.
I'm not finding it, but isn't he like, he's working through...
So, the guy who bought it was the assistant, or... Okay,
Nigel?
Nigel was the producer.
Right.
So it's kind of like when Disney bought all that land in Florida. Disney bought it under a different name.
Right.
So
yeah,
they didn't jack up the prices.
Correct.
Of all the swampland because they knew who Disney was, Walt Disney. So this was the same situation. Nigel, who's the neighbor that she was fighting with, had actually bought the house under a pseudonym.
Right.
And his revenge was to knock it down.
God.
Yeah.
So that is just crushing.
It's very crushing.
It's just awful.
And it pissed me off because Paul, the architect that she worked with, he blames her.
Right. Yeah.
He said there's no one else to blame but Bernadette.
I disagree with that so strongly because he basically blames her because I don't really get it because she left and they didn't take pictures right away. But
no, he blames her for selling it.
Oh, for selling it.
That's why, because she sold it. And because she sold it, she didn't have control over it.
Right.
And after it's sold, it could have been torn down, reconstructed, added. It took away from the whole idea of the greenhouse.
Right, right.
You know, and then...
Okay, yeah.
So that's when it goes back to saying how selfish she was as an individual. The bifocal house was for her family. The 20 by 20 by 20 house was for her family. She sold it, made it big bucks off of it. Like, she not only won that award, which was she got a lot of money for winning that award, she got a lot of money for the house.
Right.
And so she's rolling in the dough. And so
rolling in the dough. Okay, go ahead.
Instead of rolling in the deep.
Yeah,
No,
sorry.
I see where you're going.
Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
So he's mad at her for profiting,
Right.
and then mad at her because it's a very selfish anger.
Yeah, I get it, but I feel like some sympathy, dude. I don't think she intended for it, because in a way of her selling it, she was actually being less selfish. Like, even though she built it for herself, she sold it for other people. Like, I don't know.
It depends on how you look at it.
Yeah,
because
I guess so, yeah.
It's the same thing as like an artist profiting off of their work. You know, like, you want them to be successful, but you also want them to be in their own little box.
Which,
you know,
okay.
you want to keep them precious.
Interesting that you say that because, so, you know, like, that'll happen with music a lot.
Yeah.
Where, like,
they don't want them to sell out.
Right. And the thing is, like, okay, that's interesting.
That's how I think this architect, Paul, or whoever it was.
So he thinks she sold out.
Yes.
Which I don't think she did, or I don't think she meant to, at least, but maybe she did, and because I think that maybe that would be something that would haunt her.
I don't think so.
No?
I personally don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think I agree that if she knew it was going to go to Nigel, she wouldn't have sold the house.
Right, yeah.
But because of their living situation at the time, they were broke, you know, her and her husband, you know, like, yes, he was becoming successful and she was up and coming, but they were in their 20s, you know, so here's an opportunity for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Of course you're going to sell. You're in your 20s and they're trying to start a family.
Right.
You know, then this is where we find out that it's hard for them to have a family, and she's miscarried quite a few times. And in this part, I believe it's in this part.
It is, I think, because she explains it in her letter to Paul, I think, which I'm going to try to find.
Yeah.
B's actual name.
Oh. So there's so much density in this part as well. Like this part of the book is a lot shorter than part 1.
Yeah.
But there is a lot to it. So we're talking about her relationship with her husband, and he gave her this charm bracelet for Saint Bernadette. And Saint Bernadette had 16 visions, 13 visions, 15 visions.
Oh shoot!
She had a lot of visions.
Yeah, 8. I don't know. Yeah, I forget.
No, I think it was in the teens. Let me look it up really quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right here.
Nice.
Why? That's very lucky for me today. Saint Bernadette, Elgin said, Our Lady of Lourdes, It's just spelt weird. She had visions, 18 in all.
18.
You had your first vision with the Bieber bifocal. You had your second vision with the 20-mile house. So here's the 16 more.
Okay, so it's good we're talking about this because
this is a very important part.
Yes, because this whole, like, Bernadette's letter to Paul basically documents, like, what happened when she had B. And so B's actual name is Balakrishna.
Balakrishna.
They say that in
Why
Stitch.
did you say it that way?
I think Stitch says it in Lilo and Stitch. I'm pretty sure. When I read that, I was like, oh my God, that's from Lilo and Stitch. Balakrishna.
I thought you were...
Balakrishna. I can't do it, but, you know, whatever.
That's a reference that is beyond me.
That's okay. But, yeah, so why? What is that in reference to?
Balakrishna?
Yeah.
He's a god.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, who... So go ahead. Talk a little about that before.
Yes. So basically,
it's in the same sentence as that.
Yes. So basically,
What page are you on?
I'm on page 131. I don't know if it's right after this, but she basically, B is struggling a lot, and Bernadette just starts to pray, and she says to God that she will give up all the rest of her 16 visions to let B be the last vision of hers.
To let B live.
To bet Lee, yeah. I was about to say to bet Lee live.
Bet Lee live.
You get the idea.
So, like, where is it? Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it says, okay, it's at the bottom of 131. I asked to be left alone with my daughter. LG once gave me a locket of St. Bernadette, who had 18 visions. He said Bieber, bifocal, and 20 mile were my first 2 visions. I dropped to my knees at B's incubator and grabbed my locket. I will never build again, I said to God. I will renounce my other 16 visions if you'll keep my baby alive. Yeah. It worked.
Because she had, about 4 miscarriages at this point?
Something like that.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So this is where Balakrishna is the third paragraph in. Okay. I understood then that B was other and that she was entrusted to me. You know those posters of baby Krishna, Balakrishna, as he's known as the incarnation of Vishnu, the creator and destroyer. He's fat and happy and blue. That's what B was, the creator and the destroyer. It was so obvious.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is Bernadette talking about outside the box again.
Right.
You know, she sees this baby on the verge of death, and she thinks of Vishnu and his reincarnation of I can't say that name.
Balakrishna.
Balakrishna.
Yeah.
And so this is the bathroom problem again. Like I want to know what problems I'm solving.
Right.
She's seeing things on a separate level, not just surface. Because surface level would be, I want my baby to live. Like, look how blue she is. Look how blah, blah, blah. So look at her attach all these, like, machines. Her thought process was, my baby's going to live. Because that's a god.
Right.
She is the creator and destroyer. She created my life and destroyed my past.
Right.
Like, she created my present, destroyed my past, and I will do nothing more than take care of this child.
Right.
Then I'll give up everything I've ever been passionate about to make sure this child lives.
Right.
And that was so fucking emotional.
Yeah, it was.
Ugh.
And the thing is too, like, in this section, like, I think despite this being like kind of a satirical novel or funny,
I don't think at this part it's funny at all.
Right, exactly. Like, it's not, well, there are some funny bits, and I did mark one, but which I'll get to in a second. But I think that this really delves into Bernadette's mental health and kind of like, and I marked this one section, and so she says, I can feel, wait, I already lost my part. Okay. I can feel,
you take off your sticky.
Yep. Literally. Okay. I can feel the irrationality and anxiety draining my store of energy like a battery-operated race car grinding away in the corner. This energy I will need to get through the next day. Yeah. But I just lie in bed and watch it burn, and with it, any hope for a productive tomorrow. There go the dishes. There goes the grocery store. There goes exercise. There goes bringing in the garbage can. There goes basic human kindness. I wake up in a sweat so thorough I sleep with a pitcher of water by the bed, or I might die of dehydration.
Yeah.
That is so accurate.
You remember in Elixir, we talked about her panic attack.
Yes.
And she went down a weird rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Of like, no one has those like progressive thoughts.
Right.
That is how you describe
Yes.
a panic attack.
Which is interesting. I'm glad that we're reading it back to back then, because yeah, you're right. That's perfect.
It's like it's not a
It's not like as big as people think it is. It can be very small.
exactly, because she's talking about the snacks.
Right. Yes.
She's talking about Bee's snacks. Like, I should pack more fruit for Bee's lunches, and then I'm tired. And I don't want to deal with this, and I don't want to deal like that, and I'm not going to get the trash tomorrow. I need more snacks for B. You know, like that's
right.
That's how a panic attack happens, at least to me. That's how it happened to me.
And I agree. Like, and I guess we can't speak for everybody, but I think in general, I think there is a misconception out there about mental health, about how panic attacks work. Like, when I was at work one time, I had a panic attack, and I literally it was nothing brought it on.
Yeah,
nothing.
You just shut down.
Yeah, like it just happened. Like my face got super red. Like and there was, I had a lot going on, but I was having a pretty good day, you know? So there was really no reason why it happened. It just did. So like, I think that this book captures a bit of that in like a very small way, but a way that's so accurate and nice to read, to be honest. And it's not like you said, like it's not like going down a rabbit hole. It's not like, oh right, and then I thought about my father.
It's not a train of thoughts.
Yeah,
you know.
But yeah, so that was very interesting. But on a go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, on all this section right here where we're learning about B is a letter Bernadette is sending to Paul.
Yes.
Because she ran into this student. And the student is writing a paper about her.
Right.
And that's the whole first section of this part, as you were saying, it's split into two, is pieces that he's pulling from all these individuals. Yeah. And then out of coincidence, Bernadette ran into this student, was like, I'm going to reach out to Paul, and sends him this long ass letter.
Super
long ass email. It's an email.
Oh, is it an email? Okay.
Yeah, it's an email describing basically everything. Like, this is what happened. This is my mental state. This is why I'm never being creative again.
Yeah.
And it is heartbreaking, his response.
Yes, I agree.
She, it's the equivalent of texting 3 paragraphs and then the person replying K, period.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I literally, he's like, Bernadette, are you done? Like, what? Like, I read that, and that really threw me off. I was like,
yeah. Well, it's a combination, and it's written in a text speak, because are you done? You don't know if he's referring to her rant or if he's referring to her being creative.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's such a weird way. But go ahead, read the rest of it.
You can't believe any of this nonsense. People like you must create. If you don't create, Bernadette, you will become a menace to society.
Yes.
There's so much. It's such a little paragraph, but there's so much, like you said. Yeah.
There's so much into it. He's discounting all of her feelings. Do you really believe all this nonsense? You're going to become a menace to society. She's already a menace.
Right.
She's already ran over a foot, quote unquote. She's destroyed this person's house, because is this where?
That's the next section.
That's the next section. But I'm still going to say it, because I thought of this.
Yeah.
When I was reading it. She's an architect. You know, when I read about the mudslide, I was like, of course the mudslide's going to happen. They took out all those vines.
Right.
You know? So she would have known that, being an architect, that it would have flooded, it would have caused a mudslide.
Right.
Especially with all that rain.
Right.
You know, like I knew about that before the next part.
Yeah.
Spoilers. We read ahead. But I thought about all of that as well, and it is the reading between the lines,
right?
So she is that sign that she erected, plus allowing those vines to be pulled. She knew exactly what was going to happen. Now those are those blow ups.
Yes, yeah.
Without reacting outwardly by word,
because it's all in her head.
She knows.
Yeah. And what's interesting too about this section is she doesn't like Seattle. She makes that very
She
clear.
hates Seattle.
She hates the people. Like her first sentence is
Yes, I love this.
Yeah. Greetings from sunny Seattle, where women are gals, people are folks. A little bit is a skosh. If you're skoosh.
It's a skoosh.
A little bit is a skoosh. If you're tired, you're loggy. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
If something is slightly off, it's hinky. You can't sit Indian style, but you can sit crisscross applesauce. When the sun comes out, it's never called sun, but always sunshine. Boyfriends and girlfriends are partners. Nobody swears, but someone occasionally might drop the F-bomb. You're allowed to cough, but only into your elbow, and any request, reasonable or unreasonable, is met with no worries, which is I would say no worries, and I would probably say partner too.
Yeah.
And I just think it's funny, but also she talks about the dads she runs into.
The outdoorsy dads. There's only one type of dad out here, and it's outdoorsy.
Yep. And then she says there are a lot of Canadians here.
And she hates Canadians.
Yeah, there's another part I saw and I already lost it, but I did mark another part where she says, I blame the proximity to Canada. Let's leave it at that. Otherwise, I'll get onto the subject of Canadians, and that's something you seriously don't have time for.
Well, she also went on the Canadian rant with, what's her name?
Yes.
Fuck me. Her assistant in India.
Yes.
I'm so bad at names.
Oh my gosh! Wow, I should. Manjula.
Yes. We also learned that she wanted to kill herself.
Yeah.
In this letter to Paul.
So where's that? I'm trying to remember.
They talk about all these pills, or is it Manjula?
Manjula. It's to Manjula. So it's in part 1.
It's in part 1.
So we forgot about that part.
Yeah, that's pretty vital too.
Yeah.
So she writes to Manjula, basically saying they prescribe me Xanax, and I have Xanax at home, and maybe they could just give me a chart so I could figure out which one it is. And the pharmacist looked at me weird. But all my prescription pills are in a baggie because I considered overdosing once.
Yes.
I
forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah. A lot happened in part 1.
Yeah.
But this is really that combined with everything she just unloaded on Paul. Mm-hmm. You have so much sympathy for Bernadette at this point, because anyone who's an adult reading this. Mm-hmm. It might get lost with children. Obviously, this is an adult book. Yeah. But postpartum depression with having B and all the miscarriages, depression, social anxiety, agoraphobia that included. There's a lot of things that are not being dealt with. Mm-hmm. And she's just putting on this resemblance of being okay. But she's still in there. The Bernadette of the past is still in there because she bought that fucking school.
Right.
Because she made that deal with God to make sure her baby lives, but she saw that house and she needed it.
Right.
So she bought it, and she was and she had the drive to fix it up, but that's why she doesn't touch it.
Right.
Because she made that promise, and she never tells her husband any of this.
Yeah.
Any of it.
Yeah.
And that's it's so weird because their relationship was so good. So I'm curious if something happened.
Yeah.
But when you go through postpartum depression and stuff like that, you don't want to talk about it to your husband, or you don't want to talk about it to anyone, which is a big social issue.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
There's so much to unpack in this part too.
Yeah.
For only being 30 pages.
Yeah, a lot happens in a short amount of time. And I'm trying to think if there's anything. I think we hit most of the points. I'm trying to think if we missed anything.
Yeah, we because what I missed in this part is there's no commentary from B. There's not a single thing. There's not a single thing about B, and so from a perspective of a reader, and knowing that B's on this journey to find her mother. Excuse me, I'm just imagining her just processing this part.
Yeah.
Not actually making comments, just reading.
Right.
But that brings me back to my point about in the last episode, where is she getting this information from? The letter, that's easy. If she's on her mom's computer, that's in the sent box. to Paul.
Yeah.
But all this paperwork that the students doing, the tracking down of people, the interviews, the documentation about the 2020 house, I don't know how B's getting any of that.
I would say maybe she went to the student and said, hey, do you mind giving me some of your, like, what you wrote? Like, maybe she included it. And then I'd say with the emails, like with Sue Lynn, like,
is Sue Lynn in this part?
No. But okay, so you're talking about this part specifically?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was going to say she works at Microsoft.
Or anything, really. Like the first part.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say because it's working at Microsoft, so maybe she went to Microsoft and somehow went on the computer without people looking. I doubt that would work.
Yeah,
but
I don't think that's right, though.
No, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but that's a huge stretch. She has to be not only advanced for her age, but she has to be a super genius.
Well, maybe they even submitted maybe Sue Lynn submits her emails. Like, I don't know.
To be?
Maybe.
She's just like, here's everything terrible we said about your mother.
Well, maybe like, did something happen? And she'd say, well, maybe like at some point, because Sue Lynn and Audrey. Okay, I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. Yeah, maybe we'll talk.
Is this possibly like in a court or
maybe.
like a file somewhere?
Maybe.
Like this is evidence being presented.
Maybe.
Is it because she is missing?
Yeah.
We do know that she's missing.
Yeah. So it's
So, is it in a police report that B somehow got a handle of?
Maybe.
So like I don't know how this is going to. I think we're not going to find out until the end.
I was going to say either we're going to find out to the end, or we might at the end, or I don't know if we'll find out at all. To be honest,
that's going to piss me off. Yeah. That's really going to make me mad. I don't deal well with stuff like that. Only because it goes back to the criteria.
Yeah.
It doesn't make logical sense to me. Like if you leave something that open-ended, it's gonna piss me off because then it's just like, well, I don't feel like dealing with the logistics of it, so I'm just not gonna say how it happened.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah,
I can understand.
No, give me an answer. Like, you don't have it doesn't have to be a good one.
Right.
Like, let me pick that apart, but it's not gonna piss me off though.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it right now. I mean, I guess it doesn't bother me that much, to be honest. But like you said, like part of me says like I don't think it's important to the story, but I understand where you're coming from as well. Like just because it's hard to deal with doesn't mean you shouldn't deal with it at all.
As a writer, you mean? Yeah,
but at the same time, I think there's also kind of the less is more idea. Like if it's not important.
But it is important.
Possibly. I don't think it's important yet. Maybe it's important toward the end.
I think it's important now.
Really?
Only because she is so young.
Yeah.
Her mother is missing. And like...
Well, I was going to say because she's so smart.
And she's so smart.
Yeah.
So, like, it alludes to the idea, does, like, her dad not care? Is he not looking into it? Did the police not care? Like, who's giving her this information?
Maybe her dad gave her somebody emails.
Well, how did he get the emails?
Maybe he hacked into the... I don't know.
Yes, he could hack, but his passion project is something completely different.
Right,
Samantha too.
Right.
Which we'll find out later on. And, like it's just... It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I know it sounds like such a silly thing to get caught up on.
Well, maybe,
But this whole thing wouldn't happen. This whole book wouldn't exist if Bernadette didn't get, or not Bernadette, if B didn't get this information. So how did B get the information?
Right.
You know, so it's not like...
So we'll have to see. Maybe it will. Yeah, hopefully it is touched upon then.
So
I hope it is.
How do you feel about the book so far, though?
I'm loving it. I don't know though. Like I was wondering because I always think this when I really love a book when I'm reading. Mm-hmm. Like, is it? I don't know if I am at the point where I'm like, oh, this is a favorite, but I do really love it.
Yeah.
I don't like. I guess I'll find out toward the end, but I'm really enjoying it. What about you?
I'm enjoying it. I and we've talked about this off pod. I do not enjoy this style. Like this is just not a style that it's favorable to me. Like the back and forth between the parties.
Oh, so yeah, okay.
Like the emails and stuff like that. Her letter to Paul was my favorite part so far because it's a narrative. You know, it's like obviously everything's a narrative, but like it's it's more novelistic than how everything else is playing out.
Well, I'll say this too, like, I think from our discussions, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you like a more like linear style. Like you said to me one time, like,
not necessarily.
Well,
I don't mind framing.
Well, I mean, like jumping back and forth between timelines. Like you said, I forget what book it was, but you said like you hated that. And this book kind of jumps like back and forth, like sometimes, like. So
if it doesn't make sense, I hate it. Like in The Cursed Child, that jump back and forth made no sense, and I hated that book. I don't remember the book that we're talking about at the time.
Yeah,
that I referenced and that now you're referencing.
Yeah, I forget.
I forget what it is. But if the time jumps don't make sense, I hate it. The time jumps in this make sense because it's broken off in those categories, you know, and that we're talking about last episode. Like the first chunk is the introductory of everything, but we're seeing how the timeline is progressing.
So you wouldn't like if it didn't tell you? Like what if it didn't say?
What do you mean?
Like, so it's every part starts with like a heading and it will say
No, that would be fine too because like if I'm glad it's broken up into parts because it gives me time to breathe.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a very dense book.
Yeah.
For being 300 and some pages. It's very, very dense. So I need those breathing spots.
Yeah.
And like reading chapter or part 1, I put it down at page 56. You know, I was like, I can't read for the rest of the night. You know, and that was halfway through the book, the part. So I need those breaks. But the author really laid out the timelines very well.
Yeah.
Because she's also referencing the timeline in which it's supposed to be. Like the letter she wrote to Paul, she's like, I ran into this student.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where we know where we are in the timeline when that letter is written. Now, all of this book is in the past.
Right.
Every single thing that's happened is in the past. And that's why it pissed me off with The Cursed Child, is because we went to past, present, future, present, past, present, future. And they didn't cross over.
Yeah.
You know, so it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And in this timeline, such and such happened, but it didn't affect this timeline when it should. You know, it wasn't webbed together. This is webbed together.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
So I could follow it.
Interesting.
And if you don't find out what the strings are webbing together until the very end, that pisses me off too.
I agree with you. I like when a book, which it seems like this book is on its way of doing, but I like when a book lets you figure it out for yourself instead of like, oh, by the way, this happened, the end. I hate that so much. And I will say, like, it's funny because typically, like what you said about reading part 1, typically in most circumstances, I'm the same way. Like one of my biggest pet peeves is long chapters. I hate long chapters.
Oh, really?
Because short chapter books, like say a chapter's only 2 pages long, I'll be more like motivated to keep reading. So I'm like, oh, another short chapter, another short chapter, and I'll read more. Where it's a long chapter, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm really tired. I want to go to bed. I don't think I'm going to read this. No, I'm not going to read. Like, but with this book, I will say, and maybe just because I had it on like a schedule, like, so I was like, I have to read part 1 today. But there was never a point where I felt like, sometimes I was like, okay, how many pages left? But like, I didn't feel like exhausted by it, I guess. And maybe just because I was enjoying it, because I really do like the writing style. I don't think I'd want this for every book, but I like that this book is doing it, I guess. It fits the book, I guess.
It fits the book. And I think chapter 1 had to be that thick, or part 1 had to be that big because you're introducing so many characters.
Yeah.
And it's such a prelude, I guess the word is.
Yeah.
You need to understand all those relationships.
Right.
And then we get into Bernadette's past and present. Because if you put Bernadette's past and present first, you're not developing the same relationship with the characters.
Yes.
So that has to be second.
And it's interesting you say that because in a lot of books, that's another thing I like about this book is how it's structured. Like in a traditional novel, you're going to have the past stuff first and you're going to go in order. And I like that it's not doing that because it knows the story it wants to tell.
Yes.
And like you said, like I want to differentiate. Obviously, we know this, but I want to say, like, we've talked a lot about, like, plot dumps, I guess, or info dumps. And I want to make the distinction between an info dump versus part 1 of this book.
Yes.
Because it might seem like that's what we're getting at, but I want to stress no. Mm-hmm. Because
the way it's written.
Yeah, the writing doesn't drop it all at once. I mean, obviously it's 97 pages. Like, that's not really an info dump. Like, there's a lot that can happen. But, like, it's not like 2 pages and we get it all. Yeah. It's giving us interactions between people.
Yes.
And it's not like spelling it out for you. It's just they're talking to one another and you pick up the pieces.
That's one of the hardest things to write, I think.
I agree.
Subtle not subtle, because everyone in this is incredibly animated,
right? Yeah.
Bernadette is as well.
Yeah,
everyone in this is incredibly animated.
Yeah,
and so it's not a subtle interaction, but you're seeing it versus telling it.
Yeah,
you know, like,
so true.
Besides in the emails when they're explaining a conversation between 2 individuals, there's never a she exclaimed, right, or she whimpered, or he sighed in exasperation. Yeah. There's never that type of description, mm-hmm, which is incredibly interesting when you're writing in third-person perspective, mm-hmm, because, like, that's how you're conveying their emotions. You don't get a single one of those
expository.
Is that, to explain. Is that the word expository? Mm-hmm. I don't know what the word is, but you get none of those,
right?
But you get, like, when B describes how what the fuck is her name? Audrey is approaching the van at pickup. Yeah, and says her eyes are bugged, her hair's wild, she's wearing clogs, and she's rushing to the window. Mm-hmm. And Bernadette is saying, as far as I know, I never saw her. You know, as far as we know, I never saw her. You know, and that is a great description of this manic woman, mm-hmm, is, like, charging at the van. Right. And Bernadette's like, meh. Like, it shows their relationship. It shows their personalities. Right. And mm-hmm, it shows everything without being like, Bernadette sighed. Here we go again.
Because they're actually doing, like, it's not just like a passive thing. They're active characters. Like, Bernadette is saying, as far as I was concerned, I didn't see her. So, mm-hmm, like,
whoop, there's nothing in there.
I was going to say that could have ended badly. But yeah, like, it's just.
It's very well written.
So I'm excited to see where it goes. And you're farther than me, because I did read part 3, but you were farther than me.
I'm in the middle of part 4.
Oh, man. I'm excited to keep reading, but I got to stick to the schedule.
Yeah, stick to your schedule. I'll probably be on part 6 by the time I get home.
Oh, man, girl.
Only because it's a long drive.
Yeah.
I'm listening to it and reading it at the same time. So,
which is cool.
Yeah. And it's a weird dynamic switching from the 2 mediums.
I'm sure.
I don't mind it, though.
Okay.
So that's cool. So if you do want to listen to this book, we do highly recommend you go to our link, audibletrials.com. Audible Trial, one trial, not 2, one trial. audibletrial.com/BaBaT. Mm-hmm. It's going to give you a 30-day subscription to Audible. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, where are we? Am I, like, signing off too early?
No, you're perfect, actually. Okay. Yeah.
It's going to give you a free 30-day trial to Audible. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about it before, how Audible Originals and stuff.
Yeah, Audible now has a really great program called Audible Originals, where every month they have a bunch of new titles exclusive to Audible, and you get to choose 2 of them, which is really cool. Like, currently I'm listening to one. Mm-hmm. It's called Twain's Feast, and it's basically...
That sounds cute.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's right here on your schedule. Yep. Finish Twain's Feast.
Yes, indeed. It's basically, like, part biography about Mark Twain, but part, like, look back at what America was like when he was alive.
Oh, really?
And it's all conducted through looking at what his favorite foods were. And it's amazing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and Nick Offerman reads it.
No, I love Nick Offerman.
Do you want a copy?
No, it's okay.
You sure? Yeah. All right. Back to the show. But
Would
yeah.
you like me to repeat how I love Nick Offerman?
No, don't worry. It's all good. I didn't talk then. I made sure to wait. But yeah, I really, it's so much fun to listen to. And I don't know that much about Mark Twain, so I've never read anything by Mark Twain. So, yeah, this is.
You never read anything by Mark Twain?
Yeah, I know. What kind of literary person am I?
No, it's just weird.
Yeah, I never have.
All of high school and all of college.
Never.
That's odd.
It is kind of odd, actually. I mean,
I've never read anything either.
Were you assigned at all? You were never assigned. Yeah, neither was I.
But
yeah.
I also I don't have a degree in lit or English. You know,
well, still,
you would
in
think
high school,
Mark Twain would be a staple.
Yeah, you would. Well, a lot of people read it in like high school. That's what I mean. Like so. But I never did. I want to because I have one book that's Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer in one book, so I want to read that. And then Prince and the Pauper is written by Mark Twain, which is a book.
It?
Yeah, and I did when I was in high school. I actually got that book. You know, the store Five Below.
Yeah,
they used to have this book series there where they would release classic books in like a set that you could buy at Five
that's
Below.
Nice. Yeah.
And so I had bought them, and I don't know what I did with them. They're all gone. Like I don't have them at all. The only book I read from it was Around the World in 80 Days. Which I don't even remember anything of, but Prince and the Pauper was in that collection, and I always wanted to read it, and I don't have it anymore, but I'll have to get that again because I would like to read that.
You know what I notice a lot? I guess it's just because of how loud I am as an individual. I'm at least a good 4 inches away from my microphone, and you're right here.
I am.
It's really funny. Like you're moving your thing as you speak.
That was weird.
That was very weird.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What were we saying?
We were talking
Mark
about
Twain. Oh, I wanted to.
Audible,
yeah, Audible. Yeah. I wanted to talk about. It was interesting that you said about the feast, Twain's feast. Kevin and I go to Williamsburg.
Ooh, yeah.
Often enough, and we did a dinner with John Adams, I think.
Okay.
The president.
Yeah.
I guess Thomas Jefferson.
Jefferson.
And like he had a cookbook.
Ah, yeah.
He had a cookbook with all his favorite recipes at the time.
Yes, that's cool.
And they have a dinner that they cook everything to the recipe book.
See, that's
like
cool.
And they use the traditional ways of cooking it as well. So and then the reenactor comes around and talks about it, and like he read a passage in the cookbook about a salad, which is a French thing, and that was then brought over to America. And he's talking about how beautiful the greens are and how he never thought vegetables could be this way, and like talking about salad, fucking salad. It was really cool.
That's really cool.
So it's interesting learning history through food. And so I wanted to.
Well, especially because it's Thanksgiving time that we're recording this. So that's why I'm finishing on Thanksgiving. Like I specifically did that. And then also this book, Love That Cat, is like a kid's book, kind of like I don't want to call it a poem, but it's kind of like a poem. So it's really short, so I can finish it in a quick amount of time. Yeah. So like it's Thanksgiving. I don't want to be reading, you know. Like I want to be eating. Am I right? Just kidding. I'd rather be reading.
I just think it's really funny that you have scheduled everything. So it's like, okay, I don't want to read on Thanksgiving, but I'm still going to read on Thanksgiving. Might as well put like a little thing, like a little poem on it.
Well, I got to do something. I can't just sit on my ass all day. Like, I mean, I
don't know, interact with your family.
Look.
Help cook.
Brittany. Nobody, I don't do that on Thanksgiving. I'm just kidding.
You and I are very, very different people, though. Because I was talking about Kevin about this. Like, all he wants to do is sit at home and like enjoy being at home. Yeah. No, I'm like, let's go. I want to go to the craft fair.
Well, okay.
Let's do this.
I'm going to tell you, I'm a mix of in between, because sometimes I like want to go places. Like it depends on where the place is. And other times I'm like, just kind of want to stay home and cuddle up in my little snitcher, like a little puppy.
A little puppy with my little kitty cat.
Yeah. Oh,
and read about Love That Cat. Love that pussy.
That's oh no. This podcast just went way over the top.
Listen,
so.
I didn't say tits or pussy in the last couple of episodes. I said kunta kinte.
That's true.
I don't even know if that's we just say kunta kinte, so we don't say the actual C word.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, folks, thank you for listening to this episode of Books as Bad as Twilight. It was a joy to have you here. Really was, truly. I believe this episode is coming out. Wait a minute. Where's my phone? Hang on. I gotta check.
Honestly, truly, it was wonderful. I would like to thank you all for joining us today.
Okay, this episode is coming out.
And now for the class of 2018.
Oh, Brittany, this episode is coming out on Christmas Day.
Ooh.
So, Merry Christmas, fine listeners, if you celebrate.
Christmas.
And
in this house. Oh. Nothing. You didn't get to that part yet.
Okay. Oh, man, I'm excited. All right. So, thanks for listening. All our links and stuff are on our website, BaBaT podcast.
I'm just breaking everything.
Brittany, I was on a roll. Come on, Brittany.
Send me your short stories. Go ahead.
Send us your short stories to our email, badastwilight@gmail.com. There are some constituencies, so that's why you want to email us.
Yeah. That's a weird word.
It is. It was weird to say, but
is that real?
But it's fun. It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful word.
Use it in your short story and send it to us.
Oh boy, folks!
There's a challenge. Write a short story, 500 to 700 words, and inside
Oh,
it's a present. Within the story, use the word constituencies.
Fair enough. There you go. You heard it here first.
At least you didn't look
I just looked at the table. Hello, table.
How are you, table?
Yeah, I have to show you something about Beesbo after this.
Oh my god, I thought that died. Anyways, go ahead, finish your plug.
Yes, so go on our website, BaBaTpodcast.com. All our show notes are there. Thank you to Katie Hartung for our music. And thank you.
Hear this?
Yes. That you did that. Oh my god, that's another thing that happened in our episode I just released. I
gave a butterfly.
You did butterfly kisses, and you were so obsessed with the noise. And then I was like, oh, like Eskimo kisses. So then you started Eskimo kissing your microphone. True story, folks.
Yes, thank you, Katie, and thank you, Kevin MacLeod, for the music.
Yes, indeed. Oh, it's a fun time. And with that, we will talk to you all next time.
That's me giving you butterfly kisses.